rather than simply telling a user that they've made a mistake, perhaps it would be better if we could actually change data to correct it. And in order to do that, this requires a function, so it's a little bit more code that we have to write. We have to write a little sort of routine that will detect the change in the data to be able to look at the incorrect nature of the data and then correct it within tolerance. To get to that point, we can look at how we can add code to the custom content of the screen. Custom content can be added to each screen that's defined in metadata. And so this is not just about adding in JavaScript. We can actually add in just about anything that is an HTML tag. So we can add in other HTML tags and text. We can add in frames, iframes, spans, even new fields. And we have access to the document and the window properties and methods. We can write whatever script that we like in here. We know the document's own URL. We even know the previous page that may have referred the user to this page. That's in something like the document.referrer or the document.url. And this suddenly opens up a lot of options for us within the custom content. Notice that we've got here a script tag. Now, the custom content most usefully can contain these script tags. This means that we can now define functions inside the custom content that can be used within on-change scripts or could be used to control other on-screen elements. Now, functions can be extraordinarily simple. This happens to be a not terribly complex plain old JavaScript one, or they could use the client-side API. This particular plain old JavaScript one is correcting the case of a value, so it's passed in as a parameter into the check case function, and then it returns that value correctly formatted. Now here you can see that I've copied this function into my CRM system. I've come into administration, customization, person, moved to the screens, found the screen person box long, and within the custom content box I've popped in that script, and I've changed the on-change script for the person last name field to read this.value equals check case this.value. So this is taking in the current value triggered on change to make sure it is formatted correctly. So when I attempt to enter my name in uppercase and I trigger that on change, it will be automatically corrected to the correct case. And that's an example there of a corrective rule. When we introduce JavaScript, and there are lessons on the community, there are lessons within the YouTube channel that consider JavaScript, we also consider the idea of binding scripts. We learnt that when JavaScript is executed, or rather it is executed as it is loaded into the browser. So as it's loaded in, it's immediately trying to fire. Now that's fine when the JavaScript is just about defining a function that will be invoked later on. But if we're attempting to change a screen, we need to find a way of ensuring that the script doesn't fire until the page is loaded. We don't want it trying to change something if the thing that it's trying to change hasn't yet arrived inside the browser. The second example that we see on this page, the slide in front of you, is an example that uses the client-side API, and it uses the CRM ready method, and this allows you to ensure that the script is executed when the page is fully loaded so that all objects can be found and controlled. This actually binds the execution of the code to the completion of the onload event. And because it's attached to the onload event, this means that we can now access any of the data or objects once they have been loaded into the window. So it's not going to be fired until the browser has finished loading that page, but once it's loaded the page, you can access anything. So we can see an example of this being used within the company summary screen. This function has the job of changing the color of the field company's status depending on the value that it contains. Now, previously in other lessons about JavaScript, we've considered the idea of selecting a field or controlling a field using an if statement. We know about getting hold of a field using the idea of CRM.fields, and here you've got a slightly simplified version of it, which is just saying CRM open brackets name of the field. That's the client-side API mechanism to allow us to get hold of that, and we're testing the straight value of that field to get hold of it. That's something that's fine. Now, previously, when we've looked elsewhere on conditionality, we've used if statements within the JavaScript. This is using a switch statement. A switch statement is a form of conditional behavior. It's standard JavaScript syntax, and it's more efficient than a series of nested if statements. And what we can see here is that now we've got the value of the field. We can check to see whether the value is active, archived, closed, inactive, and if it's not one of those, we have a default option as well. You can see that I've taken that code and I've added it into my company box long. The important thing to realize is that the use of the ready method means that it's only going to work once the page is fully loaded. So if that page is fully loaded, then we can see that the highlight makes the change in the status very noticeable for the user.